Welcome back, all my bass singing friends. Thanks for tuning in once again. I'm so glad that you're here. This episode features Eric Bennett, the bass singer for Triumphant Quartet. Again, if you're watching for the first time, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content in the future. If you'd like to support this channel, the It's a Bass Thing gear, it's nearly 100% customizable. Short sleeve shirts, long sleeve hoodies, all kinds of cool stuff. The link is in the description. Eric Bennett has been the bass singer of the year in Southern Gospel music for about 10 years now. He's got a lot of great information and has had a fantastic bass singing journey. So here's Eric.
What's up, Eric? How you been, man?
Hey, man. It's good to see you.
You
I ain't
too.
seen hardly anybody, so it's good to see you.
Hey, a lot of the guys I've been recording lately, or several of them, I've not ever personally met, and they are guys that are in the a cappella world, the octavist, kind of the world that you and I don't live in, don't really ever get to experience. But it's always fun to talk to new people, and it's always fun to talk to old friends like yourself. So thanks for being with me.
Hey, it's an honor. It really is. Yeah, I like music around my voice.
So that
it seems to keep me on pitch better, or hide my off pitchness.
Well, man, this channel that we're doing this video for is for Bass Singing Central, and all the folks that come to this channel, they come because they just like to hear content, hear information from bass singers and guys that have made careers of singing bass. And you are one of those guys in the Southern Gospel world. You've been nominated and won. You've been nominated probably, I would guess, 15 to 20 years as Bass Singer of the Year, and you've won that award for probably around 10 years now, every year. And so you're one of those guys that's made a great career of it and still doing a fantastic job of it. Give these guys that are watching a little bit of where your journey with bass singing started and why you were attracted to it.
Well, when I was about 12 or 13, I had a big old voice. You know, my mama would take me around to hear local groups, and I had a big lead voice then. You know, and I thought, wow, it's interesting. You know, that I could sing these big lead notes. You know, with these guys, and then all of a sudden, about 15 or 16 years old, my voice started dropping, and so my brother said, hey, you want to sing in a little family group? And so I started singing bass. And you know, then I could hit, you know, pretty low notes, you know, like maybe G's and whatnot, F and G's, and you know, so and that was not the greatest tone by any means, but it was a tone I could get it out, you know. But over the years, Matt, to be honest with you, I don't see myself as making a career of being a bass singer. I see myself as being a careerist and being a minister. So I want to just put that out there first. For me, and I'm probably different maybe than a lot of other people you got on the channel or whatever, but for me, I'm a minister first. And I happen to use bassing as a tool to minister. And so coming at it from that point of view, you know, I used to sing a lot of low notes and stuff when I was with the Kingdom Heirs, another group at Dollywood. And then when I was about 35, 36 years old, we started this group that I'm with now. And, you know, I had some reflux problems. And so the reflux, there's a reason I'm going to this, because if you have reflux problems, you need to get it taken care of early if you can. But I had reflux problems, and it took I think it messed with my vocal cords a little bit. It took some of my lows. And so now, every now and then I can still hit, you know, F and G's, still get those every now and then, but I'm not as consistent as I like to be with them. So that's kind of my story. And I'm very happy, being in the ministry and using, the bass voice or whatever as a tool to touch other folks. So that's kind of where I come from it. Try to anyhow.
Well, back in the early days when you were first starting out, a lot of the guys that watch this channel, they're looking for tips, exercises, some type of training, technique, those kind of things. Were there any exercises that you kind of did as a younger guy starting out with the bass voice that you felt like helped you develop your low end?
Yes. I'll give you a good example even right now. We've been off for about a month and a half, and man, my voice is just, my lows are just, they're hard to find. And so I noticed I tried to do a concert, a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, well, I need to warm up. So I went and warmed up just a little bit, but it wasn't near enough. So I think the thing about bass singing is if you want to stay consistent, you have to do it every day. If you have a piano, you could do your do, re, mi's. I think that's a great, way of running your range, and just as, go as low as you can and then go up high. You want to have a good range, so you just keep going up and down. And I think just basically it's like anything else. The more you use it, more, it's a muscle. The more it memorizes what you're doing and tries to, to really, be in submission to what your mind wants it to do. So
yeah. Mentally, well, let me back up. One thing that I've loved about your singing over the years is just in Southern gospel music, you get a lot of guys that just want to sing low, right? But I've always loved listening to you sing because you sing with such great melody in your voice, and you're able to sing with smoothness, and you really know how to sing a song really well and present that song in a very pleasing and enjoyable way, in addition to the low notes. And so was there a transition for you mentally to go from, I know for me, I've kind of had to transition, but when was that, and how did that take place for you mentally to go from, okay, I got to practice on continuing to sound pretty and nice and pleasing when I sing a solo, as well as be able to hit some low notes?
Yeah, George Yantz, which I still listen to him quite often. And George Yantz told me, he's like, you need to learn how to sing. And that's a true story. He said, you need to learn how to sing. And I think what he meant by that is really concentrate on your feel, concentrate on feeling what you're saying and not just being a robot to spit words out, and, so I have really tried my best to concentrate on the words and just let the words flow through me. Listen, if you don't feel what you sing, other people's not going to either. But if you feel what you sing, you can hopefully make that person out there that's in the audience feel whatever you're feeling. And so, therefore, for me, going in the studio, that's not for me. Studio singing, which is great for a lot of guys, I get it, totally, But for me, I want to sing. I want to make you feel and experience what I've experienced in my life. You know what I'm saying? So, that's kind of where, and I don't really know exactly where it was. Probably, 12 or 15 years ago, I went through some things in my life, that was pretty serious. And, I really feel like I really got in touch with the Lord about 12 years ago. And even though I pastored a church back when I was, 23 and been in ministry, quite a bit of it before that, about 42, I had to come to Jesus meeting and really started studying and so I guess that's when I just like, God, I'm just going to sing for you and, not worry about so much about the bottom end, but just worry about the melody and the words, because for us in Southern gospel, it's all about the words.
Yeah. When you're singing, and I'm sure this depends on if you're going for a low note or you're just singing a verse or whatever, what kind of placement are you using? Are you using chest voice? Are you keeping it in here? Are you trying to push it up in here like Tim Riley talks about it all the time?
I have tried for years to push it up in my head and to find that magic place like Tim found. And there's others that I think have found it. I think George had a great head tone. Chris West has developed it, Jeff Chapman, but for me, look, if I can get it to come out anywhere, I'm pretty happy. But for the most part, And and it depends on what night it is where it's going to come out. But no, I still try to concentrate on this as much as I can. And again, more than likely, I think some people just have it, some don't. But I think maybe they've worked on it longer than I have. Maybe they've really practiced on it more than I have, and that's possible. But I got to the point to where I just quit worrying about it. And so, and I hope nobody ever gets to that point. They go, I just don't care. It's not like that. It's just I just don't worry about the lows being as consistent with my lows as I used to. And I know this is a bass singing channel, and people don't want to hear that, but that's just, that's just the way I am. So I want to take a low, like a Josh, whatever, sings country music.
Josh Turner.
And, I want to do the Josh Turner thing where you just sing low and, never really have a real reason just to bust a low note. And we are actually moving our music kind of towards that, to where, there's really no need for just a little talk with Jesus or, one of those. So.
Who or what note, I guess, who was the bass singer, and if you remember the song, the note that maybe the first time or one of the first few times when you were listening to a guy sing and he hit some note on some song and it just blew your mind. Who was that singer? Do you remember the song?
Yeah, Ray Dean Reese. When I was about 15, 16 years old, my brother bought one of those LPs, those big albums, and brought it home. And I think the song was "I Made a Covenant." And man, I just love that song. And and Ray had such a cut on his voice, and I heard it say one time that Ray had done more with less than any other person probably singing. And he has just really made a great career, still singing it. 80 years old? It's just amazing.
Yeah, it
and
is.
Still does a great job,
Yeah.
And so, I just love Ray. And then I found George Johnson. I was like, what, what's going on here? And then I found Tim Riley. And I was, so all of those guys. And then Mike Holcomb, I was a big fan of his. He come, most of it's just people come close to you to hear you, or that you went to hear, close in the area where you lived. And so that's my guys that I, latched on to and thought, wow, those guys are great.
Well, what I love, you said a little bit ago, you said, I know this is a bass singing channel, and I'd hope, people don't get mad at me for saying this. Here's what I love about it. And I've said this before in other videos, is that every journey is unique. And every singer, and I've even said this before, I don't want to sound like any other singer. And the same token, I don't want my journey to be the exact same as some other singer, because then you're always just that, you sound like that guy. You want to, people think you want to be that guy. And I'm like, no, I want to be Matt Fouch. I want to sound like Matt Fouch. I want my journey. And right, wrong, or indifferent, man, you were saying that about not being mad, but as far as in singing in Southern gospel music with the fan awards, man, folks vote you every year as their favorite. So it's anybody watching this, they're like, well, he doesn't sing low enough, and it doesn't matter who the person is. They don't sing low enough, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, what we really, at the end of the day, regardless what kind of music you're in, and it's for us, we want to speak to someone spiritually through our music. Other people, that's not an emphasis. But what you want to do is you want to move people with your music.
Yeah, with your voice. Yeah.
You're right, with what you're doing. And so however that journey looks for you, and if you're able to accomplish that, then I think that you've had a great journey. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been, and years ago, I used to try to sound like Tim. I used to try to sound like George Johnson. Mike Holcomb, all those guys, even Rusty Goodman. He was one of my guys that I was like, wow, I love his voice. Big old round voice, wasn't that low, but just really big tones. And I don't want to sound like anybody else. I don't think I do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and this is what I've always said, every bass singer sings low. I mean, that's why they're a bass singer. And so what you have to figure out is what's different about you. You know, if all three groups get up or whatever, and bass singers all sing G's, you know, and they can all sing a G, well, how do you individualize yourself out of all three of those? And so, you know, for me, man, I've just got into it where I just get up and do what I do. And here's the thing. I don't get upset for people singing low. If you want to sing low through the whole concert, you do whatever you need to do. If that's you, then have at it. But at the end of the night, you know, if you touch an ear, I think you'll be forgotten. If you touch a heart, people will remember you. Yeah. And so that's my goal, is to touch hearts. And, you know, again, I would love to be more consistent, you know, with my low stuff and this and that, but I don't work on it enough. And I'm just being honest. I do think that you have to work on it. If anybody wants to know how to get consistent, you know, Chris West works on it continuously. Tim, oh my gosh, Tim Duncan Scotty used to sing with him, used to work on it consistently. You know, and that's great. That's not what I want to do. So I'm going to start smoking and see if that'll help.
That's great. Hey,
I'm going to do the unfiltered, see if that makes a difference.
Hey, the new sign off for this channel is to do the Papa Mau Mau. So why don't you give us a good Papa Mau Mau?
Papa Mau Mau.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it, man. Eric, thanks for your time today, man. Appreciate it.
I love you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it.